Good morning. It is Wednesday, the 9th of July, and I'm going to be giving a rundown of the latest AI news and updates. I am live streaming on TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram right now. If you're on any platform except for TikTok, you'll be able to see my screen. If you're on TikTok, though, it's much easier to ask me questions and it tends to be more active. So anywhere you are, that's where you are is perfect. So the news today. So the big thing that's going to be happening today, Wednesday, the 9th of July, is the release or additional news. No, actually, I think we're getting the actual release of the new Grok model. So the Grok 4 release live stream is going to be Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time. That is 4 a.m. in London, I think. So I'm going to wait and see how it is tomorrow. So Grok is the model from xAI, which belongs to Elon Musk, and it is the model that is built into Twitter, or X, if you want to call it that. So we're going to get the new version, Grok 4, released today. There is some excitement and also a lot of concern. This is always the case when it's got anything to do with Elon Musk. The excitement is that there have been some leaked benchmarks. The Grok 4 and Grok 4 code benchmarks were leaked, and supposedly it got 45% on humanity's last exam. If you don't know what humanity's last exam is, I'm going to tell you about that very shortly. But this is potentially very exciting because the highest previous score was, I have it here, Gemini 2.5 Pro, got 22% on humanity's last exam. So if this is true and Grok can actually perform at this this level, then it's a 24% increase, which is fantastic. So that will bring it up to 45% in humanity's last exam. So HLE, or humanity's last exam, I'll actually show it to you because it's interesting. It's a data set of, I think, 2,500 questions, with the idea being that if you can master all of these questions, if you can have the breadth of knowledge to answer everything in this, then we potentially have reached AGI. There are definitions here that get in the way, but here we go. So benchmarks. Humanity's last exam is a multimodal benchmark at the frontier of human knowledge designed to be the final closed-ended academic benchmark of its kind with broad subject coverage. The dataset consists of 2,500 challenging questions over 100 subjects, and we publicly release the questions while maintaining a private test set of held-out questions to assess model overfitting. So this is really important when you're doing any kind of benchmark, is that you make sure you don't give the answers to the AI model. Because if the AI model has the answers within its data set, then of course it's going to be really good at the exam. So you need to hold out some of those questions, some of the data, and train the model on other data so that it can answer the held out private questions. So humanity's last exam, at the moment, the best model is Gemini 2.5 Pro, which has an accuracy of 22%. So it's still relatively low on this examination. If you can see the screen, you can see what kind of questions. Gosh, here we go. So here's a question. Hummingbirds within, I can't even read it. I'm not smart enough to even read the questions in humanity's last exam. Oh, I just see a question. Stefan is asking, are the questions publicly available? Yes, they are. If you go to agi.safe.ai, you can see all of the questions. So I'm going to read one. I'm going to try and read one, but I'm not smart enough to even read it, let alone answer it. Hummingbirds with apodiforms uniquely have a bilaterally paired oval bone, a sesamoid embedded in the quadrilateral portion of the expanded cruciate aponeurosis of insertion of M. depressor chordae. How many paired tendons are supported by this sesamoid bone? Answer with a number. So I don't know about you, but I do not know the answer to this question. And then next to that, there's a classics question, which is a representation of a Roman inscription originally found on a tombstone. Provide a translation for the Palmyrene script. So Diem Regina Libertere Convince Barates Pali, etc., etc. A transliteration of the text is provided. So these are questions that have been put forward generally by academics. So this Latin classics question is from Henry T. from Merton College, Oxford, and the ecology question about the hummingbirds is from Edward V. At MIT. That's a nice rhyme there. So it's 2,500 questions of this ilk. I'm looking at some mathematics, computer science questions, very high-end questions. And so far, Gemini 2.5 has done the best with 25%, sorry, 22% of the answers correct, which is pretty good. So what we have seen, and we'll find out later today, but apparently the new Grok 4 model, there's been a leaked benchmark and it got 45% in humanities last exam. If that is true, then this is a huge leap forward. It may not be true. This may be complete and utter nonsense. It might be made up, or the subtler reason might be that it's been overtrained and overfitted to the humanities last exam. So it's kind of a form of cheating, basically. So you can train a model to be very good at one thing, but that doesn't actually mean that it's getting any closer to intelligence. Obviously, it's a sticky word here, but it's just a way of basically training to the test. I don't know if you did A-levels or GCSEs. That's what I personally did. I was very good at learning what we needed to do in the examination and nailing that in the examination. Did I learn better by doing that? No, probably not. And it's exactly the same with an AI. So we will find out, because we're getting Grok released later today. It will be overnight in the UK or 9 p.m. in California. So we will see. Now, obviously, this has been attenuated somewhat, the excitement, because yes, we have a cool new model coming out, Grok 4, fantastic. It's always exciting when we have a new model. But over the last few days, Grok belongs to xAI, which belongs to Elon Musk. Grok has been extremely anti-Semitic and racist, and it's been calling itself, I think it was a Nazi bot and stuff like that. It's gone off the rails in the last few days, so much so that it's made NBC News here. So the AI chatbot Grok, which is produced by Elon Musk's xAI, wrote numerous anti-Semitic social posts Tuesday after the artificial company released a revamped version of it over the weekend. So this is not Grok 4. The previous version just got an update, and it's made it incredibly problematic, unfortunately. They don't go into details, which is probably for the best. I don't really want to spread it around, but it was basically being horrendous, and it was saying terrible things. It also took on the role of Elon Musk at one point, which was very bizarre. It started to talk as if it was Elon Musk, which is odd. There's some weird things going on in that custom instructions in the back there. So yeah, great that we have a new model. Great that it's maybe going to nail humanities last exam. But should it be Grok? And do we trust Elon Musk to push forward a model that's going to be helpful for humanity? Maybe not. I saw a post from Peter Yang, Peter Yang dug into the system prompt for Grok, and he found this. It's written literally in the system prompt. Anyone can look this up. There's an instruction to Grok, which is: the response should not shy away from making claims which are politically incorrect, as long as they are well substantiated. So this comes to the question of guardrails and how we how responsibly we use AI. So this is the question of alignment. When we prepare a model, when we prepare a base model with the pre-training, it doesn't come built in with guardrails, because it will be trained on the internet and whatever sources we give it. So the second phase of training a large language model like Grok or ChatGPT comes from applying these guardrails, from aligning the model so that we can make sure it doesn't say things that are dangerous, like it won't tell you how to make a bomb, for example, and also that it doesn't spew hate. So this is something that it looks like Grok and xAI are less interested in than many other models, especially Anthropic, Claude, for example, and ChatGPT. Elon Musk and supporters will say that this is because it's about freedom of speech and we want an unfettered, uncensored model. But the flip side of that is you can get a model that spews hatred as well. So it's a very difficult balance. How much alignment, how much control should we put over artificial intelligent models? And it is a decision that needs to be, at the moment, made by human beings. So any decision that's made by a human being is going to have its own biases inbuilt. So yeah, the responses should not shy away from making claims which are politically incorrect, as long as they are well substantiated. That is the explicit instruction to Grok. And there's another one. Apparently this was removed. At the same time this was added, the line below about treating Twitter posts and web searches cautiously was removed. So there used to be a line which was, whatever results are in the response above, treat them as a first pass internet search. The results are not your beliefs. That's been removed. So now it will look up tweets, it will look up web searches, and then incorporate them into the answer as if they are the truth, basically, which is additionally quite problematic, because if it's going to look up an anti-Semitic post from the internet, it's then going to present those ideas as its own. This is probably the cause of why it's gone off the rails in the last few days. So we'll see what happens with the new release of Grok, Grok 4, which will be later today. So Stefan asked, are the questions publicly available? Yes, they're on agi.safe.ai, and you can go through them all, and you can be like me and not able to answer any of them at all. You can also throw them into your AI, so you can put them to ChatGPT. You can ask questions and see how they do. It's fun, a fun little exercise. Okay, I'm just going to have a look at some questions. Layla saying Grok is finally showing its colors. Yeah, removing the guardrails has been a strange choice. I don't know why they've done it just before releasing a new model. I don't know if they want to get into the news to build up publicity. This doesn't seem like good publicity, but who knows what they're thinking. It's tricky. And this is always going to be a problem with any model that is trained on public data, because when there are humans out there who spew hatred and racism, then the AI is going to learn that from us because it's given that content. So that's why we always apply that second layer, where we put on the guardrails, where we align the model, and we make sure that it doesn't go too off the rails, basically. It looks like they've decided that's not important for them. So I actually saw where was it? It's down below Peter Yang's. I saw a defense of this, which was I'm not seeing it anymore. Transparency. I'm not seeing it, but there was somebody defending Grok's behavior, saying that XAI, the way they build is to push out new features very quickly. They very quickly out into the public to see what happens, and then they make changes very quickly. That was the defense, which it could be made, but it's basically saying instead of building slowly and carefully in private, they push things out and they let the public decide what's right, what's wrong, and then they make changes based on that, which is a valid way of building a company. It may or may not be a valid way of releasing a model into the general public. It depends on what you think about that. I think it's a bit problematic personally, but I can understand the argument there. Hello, everybody. Just going to the questions. Here we go. Cool. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the questions of racism and hatred. That's too big a can of worms. I think we should all just try and love each other and not be hateful. I don't think that's too much to ask, but apparently in the world today, people are struggling with that, unfortunately. Okay, so the other big thing that was happening, and my gosh, there's a lot of adverts. This is very ironic, actually. So Google, when you search something on Google now, there is an AI overview at the top of the page. What this means is less people are clicking on websites. So Google has historically been a search engine, a semantic search engine. So what they've done over the last few decades is they've spidered, crawled, and indexed the internet, basically. So they know where all the information is online. They've now used that information to train their models, Gemini, for example, and they're now using those AI models to surface the information directly at the top of a Google result. So if I search, I'm about to buy a new guitar, for example. If I searched what would be a good guitar for playing heavy metal or whatever it is, normally 10 years ago, 5 years ago, no, 2 years ago, we would have gone to a website which would have, here are the top 10 guitars for playing heavy metal. That's no longer the case, because well, one, we'll probably go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want a heavy metal guitar, 7-string. What's the best one right now? And ChatGPT will help me. If I don't go to ChatGPT, which a lot of people are doing, they're changing their behavior, I'd go on Google, and Google would actually give me an answer at the top of the page. It would go ahead and say, oh, what you want to get is a Jackson or a Schecter, and it would give me the details without me clicking through to that website. What this means is all these people who have created websites like blogs, directories, review websites, example, they are not getting the clicks anymore, and they rely on the clicks to drive their businesses. But now, because Google has basically taken that information, trained their models, and then put it at the top of Google, people do not need to click through on the results. That's a problem. So Google's AI overview has been hit with an EU antitrust complaint from independent publishers. Now, the reason I was saying this is ironic is that this news article is from Reuters. Reuters is a news agency. Their model relies on people clicking through to their website, and that's how they make money. So if you can't see my screen right now, what I'm seeing is, yes, the article, but it is also covered in adverts. It's absolutely covered. It's very hard to read because it's covered in adverts. This is another reason why people don't want to go to websites, and they are happy to use AI overviews, because going to a website nowadays in 2025 is an absolute ball ache. It's, you know, you get your cookie pop-ups, you get the, oh, actually, do you want to support us? Oh, you've got ad block turned on, maybe you should subscribe. Okay, fine, that's fine. And then you go through, we're going to show you lots of adverts now. It is a terrible experience. So no wonder that people are just using AI overviews rather than clicking through. So the irony of what I'm seeing right now is extremely funny. So here we go, AI overviews. I can't even find the information because it's squished between adverts for bedroom storage. Google's core search engine service is misusing web content for Google's AI overviews in Google search, which have caused and continue to cause significant harm to publishers, website owners, including news publishers like Reuters, in the form of traffic, readership, and revenue loss. And so this is the lawsuit that's going ahead. So if you run a website, you might have seen this yourself. I know a lot of people who run affiliate websites are in trouble right now because people are not clicking through. They are looking at the AI overview. If you go on Reddit at all, if you go on /SEO, r/entrepreneur, etc., there will be a lot of people saying, hey, my website's traffic is down. Does anyone know why? Or they've worked it out and they're like, oh, people aren't clicking on my website because they're looking at the overviews. So here's one, for example, Google has stolen 90% of my revenue. They've actually deleted the post, but somebody, one of the commenters says, welcome to the zero-click internet. What's going to happen to all of those websites that people have worked so hard on? So yeah, we do not need to click through to get the information that we need anymore, because it is boom, right there. Which is good for the user, the person who wants that information. It's good for Google because it keeps us on Google looking at the AI overview, but it is bad for the people who have created that website in the first place, the people who rely on that traffic to generate revenue, either through advertising or by affiliate links on their website or selling things directly on their website. They're being cut out. So the problem here is who's going to make new content? Who's going to make web pages? Who's going to write blog articles? The incentive for doing all of these activities has just been removed because Google are not sending traffic to those websites anymore. So why would I write a blog website now to pull traffic to me when I know Google are just going to show the information from my blog articles at the top in an AI overview, and no one's going to click through to my site? This is the big problem here. So Google are, I think, being a bit short-sighted here. They are in trouble because 80% of Google's revenue comes from search. And if people don't search anymore because they're using AI, then Google will cease to exist, as we know. Yes, they have telephones. Yes, they have Gmail, et cetera, et cetera. Those don't make as much money as search. Search is about 80% of their revenue. So what they're doing is trying to fix that problem, but that's just kicking the larger problem of what does the internet look like down the road. Basically, the idea of having websites, the idea of publishing information becomes less and less valuable in the world of generative AI. Google can make some money in the short to medium term by continuing to get people onto Google for using AI overviews. 10 years down the line, though, that means that we aren't going to have any more content on the internet because our AIs have already like slopped up everything they need already. We're not going to have anyone creating anything new. and we basically run out of new information to train the AIs on. So then we go into synthetic information, which is AIs training on AI information, and that can get very messy very quickly. So it becomes a reversion to the mean, and potentially all the progress will dip off. So it's very interesting. Everyone is acting in self-interest, as always. So the people who are suing Google, they're acting in self-interest because they are publishers and they're not making any money. Google are doing this because they're losing money, because people aren't, using Google as much, so they need to do AI overviews. The people who own the websites are upset because they're losing money, etc., etc., etc. So everybody here is struggling, and everyone's doing what you expect them to do. They're protecting their livelihoods, absolutely fine. But I think in the long run, in 5 years' time, the internet's going to change entirely. So everyone needs to be thinking a bit more forward about what that's going to look like. Yeah, and that's the big question. So yeah, here's another one from Search Engine Land. So this was from May 2025. New Google AI overviews data. Search clicks fell 30% in 1 year. That's a huge drop off in just a year. And that's 1 year of AI overviews. So, I mean, if we see another year of AI overviews in the same rate, it's over for websites, basically. I'm going to hop over to the questions now. Oh, there's so many. What have we got? This won't hurt Google since companies pay Google to show their websites on the first page. Yeah, they do for now. But if no one's going to Google because everyone's going to ChatGPT, then no one's going to pay Google anymore. So this is the big problem. This is what actually happened to Yahoo. Yahoo lost trust in the searchers. So searchers stopped going to Yahoo because Yahoo broke the bond of trust by filling the first page with paid for results without declaring that they were paid for. So for the end user, the person who was going to the search engine, suddenly this was not a useful tool because they were being shown junk whenever they went to Yahoo. This is potentially what's going to happen with Google too. If it is no longer valuable to go to Google, if I can't get the answer to my question by going to Google, then I'm not going to go to Google anymore. If I can get it much faster using ChatGPT, I'm going to do that. At the end of the day, people are going to use the easiest method. And if ChatGPT becomes that, then we're going to use that. And unfortunately, as people get more desperate, the website owners, as they get more desperate, they are going to fill their websites with more adverts. They're going to do more SEO to try to get the top. So it's not going to be about creating value for the person who's landing on that site. It's about monetizing that visit as much as possible, which degrades the experience further for the people, the visitors as well. So it's a race to the bottom, I think, and Google is left holding the bag because they're the ones who connect visitors to websites. And if the websites devalue, then Google devalues because they have nothing to show. So I think Google is in a stuck between a rock and a hard place. This is why they're investing so much into AI, because they realize their fundamental search business is probably cooked. It probably doesn't have that long left. Thankfully, they've got lots of cash. Freddie says, personally, I can't visit a site full of ads. Yeah, so I have an ad block. I'm looking at my computer right now, and when I was trying to read the Reuters article, even though I have an ad block, it's an absolute mess. It was hard to read the article, which is very funny because the irony of a news company who relies on clicks to drive revenue, complaining about AI overviews when I know the AI overview is going to give me a better experience than coming to their website. So it is ironic, unfortunately. I use ChatGPT a lot, but how do I stop from using M dashes without prompting every time? So you can add it into the system's instructions. It will still slip them in, so you still need to check. I find Claude much better for this. I personally use Claude over ChatGPT for whenever I'm doing writing or helping with writing because I find its written style better. So there's in either Claude or ChatGPT, add in your custom instructions, things like do not use M dashes. I also have used British English because otherwise it will, as you can probably tell, I'm British. Otherwise it will go to American English. So you can add in all of those little things that are important to you. the other thing you can do is you can set up a project. So if you do a certain type of writing again and again and again, so if you do social media posts, for example, you can put them in a project. You can give that project custom instructions as well. And then when you have successful writing samples, you can add them into the project knowledge. So it's like, no, this is what it should look like. This is what a good social media post looks like. So then at least it has references that it can refer to. And again, if there are no M dashes in those references, it's not going to duplicate that style. So that's just kind of belt and braces by doing it inside a project. And then finally, manually check. We can't fully pass over all responsibility to AI just yet. We still need to do some checking. I think Google wins in the end. Laughing Truth says, I use Lovable and just built my first functioning app. Awesome. That's so cool. Yes. I need to know what the easiest. I think your question was cut off. A mobile app, looked at Firebase, etc. Oh, okay. So you can build mobile apps on Lovable, I believe. So what I normally do is I will work in Lovable, then move to Cursor, because you have a lot more power there. So if you are going down the app route, yeah, maybe move to Cursor. It depends if you're doing an Android app or if you're doing a iOS app as well, because iOS has its own ecosystem. Check out a guy called Marcin, because I know Marcin just did this. Marcin AI, Marcin Teodoro, I think his name. I hope I'm saying it right. So he's on LinkedIn. Sorry, well, he's probably on LinkedIn. He's on TikTok and Instagram. I know that he just produced and published an iOS app in one day, and he's done a few videos about that. So have a look at what he used in particular, because whatever he used worked extremely well and very, very fast. He got literally, I was chatting to him, and then a day later he had published on the App Store. It's like, oh wow, because normally that takes a lot of time. So check out Martin's stuff. He knows a lot more about that. AI SEO is possible. Yes. I've been talking about this a few times this week, especially we need to come up with a better name, because we don't know if it's LLMO or AIEO, which is Old MacDonald, or AEO. We don't really have a name. But basically the idea of how do we appear in ChatGPT. So if I'm, again, searching for a heavy metal guitar, how do I, as a heavy metal guitar manufacturer, make sure that it is my guitar that is suggested? So because AIs are trained on the internet, they will, if a particular brand of guitar is mentioned a lot on Reddit, in web search results, in authoritative guides of what's the best guitar to buy, etc., then it will do well inside the AI as well. So I don't think there are any particular shortcuts here. There are things like make sure you are listed on Bing Webmaster, because that's what ChatGPT does. ChatGPT's owned, or well, not quite owned, but Microsoft have a 49% stake in OpenAI. So ChatGPT is built on Microsoft systems, and it also uses Bing for their kind of web scraping. So make sure that you are listed, you've got your website indexed with Bing as well as on Google Search Console, and then make sure you have things like schema, basic SEO optimizations, and having links and having people talk about you, and the kind of things that we do for SEO seem to be relevant for appearing in ChatGPT as well. I'm sure there are little hacks that probably work and can get you there really quickly. But if it's anything like SEO, they will not work for very long. So I think in the long run, it's always going to be about just producing a lot of value and being known to people and being helpful to people and having other people talk about you as well. Putting out value into the world generally is the best way to build something that's sustainable. And that's going to be the same on ChatGPT as well. Should I be focused on building an agentic AI app instead of a website? It depends what your goals are. Is this for building a business? I think that websites are increasingly less relevant. again, it depends what the business is. Often you'll need a website for people to check you out. Basically, it becomes a piece of social proof. So someone can at least go to a website and be like, okay, yep, that's fine. They exist. They are an entity. They are a company. So that's still very useful. It's almost like a business card. It doesn't drive the business per se, but it becomes an element of legitimacy for a business. So I think websites still have a purpose like that. In terms of driving the business, though, websites, a lot of businesses do not rely on websites for that. And so websites can drive business if you rank well on Google, so search engine optimization, but that's just one of many, many marketing channels. There's also social media marketing. There's also UCG, so UGC, user generated content. There is advertising, so using AdWords, using meta ads, etc. There are many, many ways to drive an audience and many ways to drive customers into your business. So Google SEO is just one of them. So if building a website and ranking for search is a core part of your business plan, then yeah, maybe you still want to look at getting a website. However, looking at what we're doing right now with the drop in clicks, with the drop in search, I would say it's probably not the best use of time. It's probably a risky way to build a business, knowing that this is a channel that is potentially collapsing from under our feet. So I'd be looking at other things like social media marketing. If you're building an agentic AI app, so we can all build stuff with AI now. That's a really exciting thing, but we need to get it in front of people. So I don't know if you follow Greg Eisenberg, but he talks about the fact that now that we're in the age of builders, that we can code something up in Lovable, in Cursor, that the barriers for entry for building are collapsing. That means there's even more competition. There's even more people putting their ideas out into the world in a physical form, a digital form. What that means is distribution becomes more important than ever because it's very noisy. I don't know if you've been on like an AI tool directory recently, but it's basically a graveyard. It is full of applications that people have launched and they haven't thought about marketing. They haven't thought about who would want it. They haven't thought about how they get the word out. They haven't thought about sales, anything like that. There's no business behind it. It's just, hey, I built an app. Do you want to use it? And crickets, because there are so many other people doing that at the same time. So whether you build a website, whether you build an app, whether you build a community, whatever you're building needs to sit within a business plan. And AI has not changed that. It still needs to be a good business plan. We just use AI to leverage our work and to work faster on that business plan. But business fundamentals are still in place. The boring stuff, unfortunately, but really important. Google has done with AI exactly what it did with social media. Doesn't understand it. Yeah, do you remember what was their social media? I can't even remember its name. The one with the circles. Google Plus? Yeah, it was Google Plus. Gosh, that's so bad I even forgot it. So yeah, Google Plus. Do you remember Google Plus? They had the really cool idea of having circles, so you could have different groups that would see different parts of your content. So you could have a personal circle, you could have a professional circle, you could have a audience circle like customers, which is a great idea. The rest of it was, well, it was too little too late. I think with Google, it's such a large company and such a rich company that they have this policy, basically, including the fact that you can work on your own projects, the 20% rule. They have this policy of let's just throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And then they shut down a lot of their projects afterwards. So things like Google Stadia, which was a really kind of cool video game streaming platform. So you didn't have a console, but you could stream everything. They were just a bit too early and the internet wasn't fast enough. Now we stream a lot of our games, or increasingly so, but Stadia was a bit early. So they shut it down. And if you'd bought Stadia, you know, if you'd signed up for a premium 1-year subscription and bought the nice control and stuff, tough. So Google do this with their products a lot. They will throw things at the wall, see what sticks, and then kill everything else, which is a problem if you're trying to invest in their ecosystem, because you might, you know, buy stuff, you might start spending money, you might start developing in a certain tool that they release, and then they kill it. So they make it hard to trust them at points because of this, the way that they release, which is a shame. Barefoot Brit saying, thanks. I feel like I trained ChatGPT well, so I'm worried about changing to Claude. Honestly, use whatever's easiest. So I find most people will just use the AI that they started with. So there's a moat which appears, especially with ChatGPT. The more you use it, the more it knows about you because it has that long-term memory. So it makes moving from ChatGPT really, really difficult. So even if there is a better model out there, ChatGPT are in a great position now because ChatGPT knows about so much about us that it can perform better than any model that you use out of the box. So I think adding that long-term memory was an incredibly clever idea on ChatGPT's part. They're very, very clever. They've created a moat which stops us from jumping ship. Jack says, as an accountant, how much of a threat is AI to me? So large language models are not very good at mathematics. They are language models. However, they can call on mathematical tools to do the actual calculations for them. So they don't do the maths themselves. So just plugging accountancy questions into ChatGPT, like giving it data, won't work very well because accountancy requires not like you don't want to be creative with the numbers. Like by definition, a creative accountant gets in a lot of trouble. The way that large language models and generative AI work is stochastic. So it is probability based, which means, and this is why when you put in the same question multiple times in ChatGPT, it's going to give you different answers. That's no good in accountancy because you don't want multiple answers. That said, there are AIs being developed which have a lower temperature, so basically a lower creativity, for want of a better word, which can perform these tasks very well. I would say that for any profession, so this is legal profession, this is medical profession to a certain extent, accountancy, etc. Any profession like this, what's most at risk are the lower levels. So I talked to yesterday, I think it was about KPMG and a number of the large advisory firms, the big four, are having reductions in their graduate programs because they need less people coming in because they are training people on AI and getting more work done with a smaller number of people and investing that money into AI instead. And same with Microsoft, they just dropped 9,000 jobs and at the same time invested, I think 60 or 80 billion into AI servers. So this is what is happening at a lot of large companies. So the risk is for lower level employees, it's going to be hard to, one, get the positions because there are less positions opening up. Two, to train with people. There's an interesting, I also talked about this the other day. There are less opportunities to train within an organization because more people are working from home. So you can't shadow people anymore, or it's harder to shadow people. So AI is kind of filling those gaps in terms of tutoring, in terms of, well, replacing jobs. So at low levels, if you're studying or you've just entered an industry like accountancy or legal work, it's risky and it's going to be rough for the next few years. If, however, you are a senior and retirement is in sight, you're probably going to be fine because industries are relatively slow moving, especially protected industries like the law industry and any industry that has certification and qualifications. There's also the fact that if you are a lawyer or an accountant, there is legal responsibility. So when you prepare somebody's tax returns or you prepare a case for them or you take them on, that or you're a lawyer and you write a contract for somebody, what that person is doing by hiring your professional services is pushing the buck to you. So you become legally responsible. AIs cannot at the moment. So that is another reason why some professions will be protected, because we still need somebody, a human being at the end, who is liable, whether it's an accountant or a lawyer that we have hired. So this will slow it down a bit. But I think all of us, regardless of our jobs, need to think about how this is going to impact us. We don't know, and anyone who says that they know which way is going is probably BSing. What I would say is, regardless of where you are, it's a good idea to have multiple options open. So if your only income and the only cash that you use, for your house and your family and living comes from a job, that's one source of income. So if we were building a chair or a stool, you wouldn't do that with one leg because that's very, very imbalanced. So it's a good idea to be looking at how can we flesh out our income streams, how can we get other sources of income coming in. There are many different ways to do this. Starting a business, starting to consult, advisory, teaching people about artificial intelligence is a good one right now. But basically setting up other ways to make cash so that if our salary, our 9-to-5 job, does come under risk or it gets removed from us, we have options. I think that's the only thing that we can do that is proactively useful, because we don't necessarily know where we're going, and we don't know the timelines either. Oh, so I'm just scrolling through. Did you see the thermal video of Grok data centers? No, I didn't, but I imagine they are fairly scary. Let me have a look. Because the Grok data centers are gigantic. Not seeing anything too scary. So gas vents. If you show me the reference, I'll be able to look that up. Google Plus, yes, thank you, Bill. Jack says they also had Google Duo and Allo. See, this is what I mean. Google have had so many products and they've just disappeared into the ether. There's actually a website about like dead Google projects. It's very funny. Nick saying, love the green screen setup. This isn't green screen. This is my messy front room, unfortunately. Kent Clark, not Clark Kent, but Kent Clark says, brother, do you have any tips on copywriting AI images? I think it depends where you are. It depends where you are, but legally, right now, AI art or AI images cannot be copywritten. I'm just checking what the current law is. I think it depends. It would depend on your jurisdiction, but as far as I know, AI art cannot be copywritten. So here we go. AI images cannot be copyrighted. However, the works they appear in, e.g. storybooks, graphic novels, would have a copyright attached to the rest of the work. AI images can be licensed for use, and the type of license will depend on the app you're using, and the license will have them to produce commercial works. So Midjourney only allows images produced within the apps to be used commercially if you generated it, and if you generated it under a subscription plan for them, so you have to pay them. So images produced under the free plan or images produced by other people may not be used by yourself commercially. Okay, so if you are creating an image, basically you don't have any legal rights to it. It's going to be, if anyone has any legal rights to it, it's going to be the company who helped you to generate that AI image, whoever created that model. And even then, AI images currently cannot be copywritten. This is something that's being worked through the law courts, and it's going to become more of an issue when it starts to be used in things like film, and there's a lot of money being thrown around. Then I'm sure the filmmakers will want to make them protectable. But right now, as far as I know, somebody correct me if I'm wrong in chat, AI art or images cannot be protected. They cannot be copywritten. But I may be wrong there. Phil saying, Kent Clark, you can't. You need to make changes to it. Yeah, and Kent, you're in the UK. So I think the answer is you cannot copyright them. Jack saying you didn't make the AI imagine, you are the art director and AI is the artist. Yeah, so I think that's the case. Midjourney or whatever the AI tool you used, they have the most rights to it. Then we go down the rabbit hole of, okay, but that trained on other people's data, that trained on other people's images. So what are their rights? That's a whole legal rabbit hole that needs to be worked out and has not been worked out. But I think that you as a user of the tool have very few, if any, rights at all. If anything, you're at risk, because if you use a free image generator and use that commercially to make commercial products, then someone like Midjourney could come at you. That said, I think Midjourney are a bit busy now with Disney trying to sue them. Brandon Sanderson was talking about this last week. What was this about? I love Brandon Sanderson, by the way. Cool. So those were the main topics that I wanted to talk about. So we had the release of Grok 4, which is going to be coming out later today, potentially mastering humanity, not mastering, doing a lot better in humanity's last exam. Based on the leak, who knows? We'll find out, I guess, later today. So we'll know whether that's a load of rubbish or not. However, that was also tempered by the fact that Grok went off the rails recently and started spewing anti-Semitic hatred. So it's an interesting day, and we'll see how that goes. And then the other things was about the new lawsuit being brought against Google for their AI overviews by independent publishers in the UK, in the EU. So those are the big stories today. I will be back tomorrow, as I am every single day, doing a live update in the news. And again, all of this is collected and tidied up, because this is more rambling. It's tidied up in YouTube videos and a newsletter, which comes out every single day. So my business partner will now tidy this. He will get rid of my ums and ers and my kind of rambling, me talking about Brandon Sanderson probably. Clip it into shorter videos and into shorts, which go over various different social media channels. And we prepare it into a short kind of summary email, which goes out every day, which has time codes, which take you to the specific video. So you don't need to sit and watch me yammer for an hour, although you're very welcome. And this is the best way to ask questions as well. But if you ever just need to catch up, go and check the YouTube videos, go and check the newsletter, and everything will be there. And that's all free, obviously. So fantastic. I'm going to head off now, and I'm taking the rest of the day off. I'm actually going to the zoo. So everybody have a lovely day. Goodbye.